Among the shadowy corners of esoteric history, few names inspire both awe and dread like Apep, also known as Apophis, the great serpent of Egyptian mythology who forever battles the sun god Ra in an endless cosmic struggle. To the ancient Egyptians, Apep was not merely a monster but the embodiment of chaos, entropy, and the darkness before creation, a living symbol of the forces that threaten to unmake the cosmos itself. Yet, across centuries, fragments of rituals, hieroglyphic texts, and occult reinterpretations have hinted at the existence of sects, both ancient and modern, that do not fear Apep, but worship him. These adherents, collectively known as the Cult of Apep, or in modern occult revival movements as the Setian Orders, represent one of the most enigmatic and controversial traditions in esoteric lore. A religion of rebellion against divine order, a philosophy of chaos, and a path toward transcendence through the embrace of darkness. The roots of the Cult of Apep stretch back to the Old Kingdom of Egypt, circa 2600 BCE, though the serpent god himself predates written history. In myth, Apep was born from the primordial waters of Nun, existing before the dawn of light. As Ra emerged from the cosmic egg and brought order to the universe, Apep became his eternal adversary, the living shadow of creation, destined to strike each night as the sun journeyed through the underworld. To most Egyptians, this was a moral drama. Ra symbolized Ma'at, the principle of truth, harmony, and order, while Apep represented Isfet, the principle of disorder and chaos. Each dawn, Ra's victory over Apep reaffirmed the stability of the world, but deep within certain priestly sects, there was another interpretation. Some initiates of the Set cults, who worshiped the god Set, Sutek, himself associated with storms, deserts, and the foreign, began to see in Apep not merely a monster, but a necessary counterpart to creation. For them, Apep was not evil, but the raw, pre-cosmic force from which all order arises and to which it must someday return. It was among these early Setian mystics that the seeds of the Cult of Apep were sown, a secret theology hidden beneath layers of ritual and myth. At the heart of the cult's belief lies a profound inversion of conventional theology. Whereas most religions seek the light, the followers of Apep seek the night behind the sun, the eternal darkness from which light emerges. They believe that the universe itself is a kind of illusionary structure, sustained by Ra's solar will, an artificial order imposed upon the true, infinite chaos of existence. To worship Ra is to cling to the delusion of permanence. To follow Apep is to embrace the truth of dissolution. The serpent's endless battle against the sun is thus reinterpreted as a sacred cycle of destruction and rebirth, a cosmic dance that keeps existence from stagnation. The cult teaches that, at the end of time, Apep will finally devour the sun and return all things to the original void, a moment of total liberation. For initiates, this final devouring is not an apocalypse to fear, but a goal to aspire to within oneself, the destruction of false identity, the unraveling of ego, and the rebirth of the true chaotic self. The rituals of the Cult of Apep are shrouded in secrecy and symbolism, blending fragments of ancient Egyptian texts with modern occult reinterpretation. Most are performed at night, under the new moon, when the heavens are most devoid of solar light. The central rite, known among initiates as the serpent's coil, begins with the extinguishing of all lamps and the recitation of invocations drawn from apocryphal versions of the Book of Overthrowing Apep, an ancient magical text intended to repel the serpent. However, in the Setian version, the words are reversed, turning a spell of banishment into one of invocation. Participants often gather in a circular chamber symbolizing the coiled body of Apep. In the center lies a black altar, upon which rests a silver bowl filled with dark liquid, representing the primordial waters of Nun. The officiant, known as the serpent hierophant, traces sigils resembling intertwined serpents and invokes Apep by name. "I call to thee, great serpent of the deep, before whom even Ra trembles in his bark of fire. Awaken from thy slumber in the waters of chaos, coil around my soul, and unmake the false order within. As the chant rises, initiates enter a trance, often accompanied by rhythmic drumming or hissing sounds meant to mimic the serpent's breath. The ceremony culminates in a symbolic act, sometimes the breaking of a solar emblem or the extinguishing of a flame, signifying the consumption of light by darkness. To outsiders, these rites might seem sinister, but to adherents they represent spiritual liberation, the acceptance of life's impermanence, the death of illusion, and the embrace of raw existence beyond morality. In the 20th century, the name Apep re-emerged within occult and left-hand path circles, often in connection with the Temple of Set, founded in 1975 by Michael A. Aquino, a former member of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. Though the Temple of Set is more philosophical than ritualistic, it acknowledges Set as a principle of isolation, self-deification, and opposition to cosmic conformity, concepts that parallel the ancient cult of Apep. Within certain offshoots of the Setian tradition, sometimes referred to collectively as the Order of Apep or Apophis cult, the serpent is seen as the ultimate initiator. These groups reinterpret Apep's devouring of Ra as a metaphor for the initiate's confrontation with the abyss, the point at which the self must dissolve to be reborn as a godlike consciousness. Their practices merge Egyptian symbolism, chaos magic, and psychological transformation, aiming not at worship, but at becoming Apep, embodying the serpent's infinite, formless nature. Modern texts associated with these groups often describe Apep not as a deity, but as a force of awareness, the primordial intelligence that lies beneath existence itself. By aligning with this force, practitioners claim to awaken the black flame, an inner spark of divine chaos that transcends all systems, gods, and dogmas. The serpent, across many cultures, symbolizes both life and death, wisdom and destruction. In the context of Apep, it becomes the ultimate paradox, a being that both threatens and sustains creation. The cult's inversion of traditional Egyptian duality is profound. In standard myth, Ra and Apep are locked in eternal struggle, light versus darkness. But the Setian interpretation suggests that both are aspects of the same cosmic whole. Ra represents the manifested world. Apep represents the potential from which that manifestation springs. Thus, to worship Apep is to acknowledge the hidden unity of opposites, to see that creation and destruction are not enemies, but partners in an endless dance. This insight, symbolized by the Ouroboros, the serpent devouring its own tail, lies at the core of the cult's metaphysics. In this vision, chaos is not evil, it is freedom. Order, while necessary, is a cage that limits being. Only through chaos can consciousness evolve, unbounded by form. Today, the Cult of Apep survives not as an organized religion, but as a symbolic lineage within occult philosophy. Some modern practitioners of chaos magic, thelemic mysticism, and Setianism invoke Apep as an archetype of radical transformation, the destroyer of false realities. In art and literature, Apep has become a metaphor for the inner shadow, the part of the psyche that resists conformity and yearns for the primordial freedom of non-being. Jungian occultists interpret Apep as the serpent of the unconscious, coiling beneath the surface of the mind, waiting to devour the ego and reveal the deeper self. Whether as myth, metaphor, or mystical path, the Cult of Apep endures as a challenge to the comfortable illusions of order and morality. It asks the initiate to confront the darkness not as an enemy, but as the source of creation itself. In the end, the teachings of the Cult of Apep can be summed up in one paradoxical creed. To be reborn, one must first be devoured. Just as Ra descends into the underworld each night to face the serpent, so too must the seeker descend into their own abyss, to meet Apep face to face. For only in that moment of annihilation can the illusion of separateness dissolve and the soul awaken to the boundless freedom of the void. Thus, the cult's ultimate goal, the dissolution of cosmic order, is not an act of destruction for its own sake, but an initiation into eternity. It is the realization that beneath all things, chaos is the true divinity, and that in the darkness of Apep's coils lies the secret of creation itself.